80% of the results come from 20% of the causes. This is the definition of Pareto principle, or also known as the 80-20 principle. This principle was named after Vilfried Pareto, who was an Italian economist. Pareto noticed that 80% of Italy's land was owned by 20% of its population. He found that this ratio wasn't a rare occurrence, and it seemed to be the natural order of things. For example, 20% of pea pods held 80% of the peas, 20% of customers accounted for 80% of business revenues, and 80% of complaints came from 20% of customers, etc. etc. Pareto was the first to discover the 80-20 principle. This principle today is also termed as productive laziness. Do the 20% of the work and gain 80% of the value. Sounds cool, isn't it? If you have ever read the book The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, he also talks about using this 80-20 principle to cut your time into half and still producing the same results that you want. Well, more of that later. Today I'm going to show you how to study faster using this principle and how to double the revenue of your business. Let's get to it. The 80-20 principle applied to studying. Look, I'm someone who hates studying. I don't like the whole concept of rote learning and putting it on the paper on the day of examination. I found it really hard to study because it's submerged with my other interests such as building an online business, making YouTube videos, making music, etc. So one day I discovered the concept of 80-20 by reading the book 4-Hour Work Week. So I thought I should probably find a way to apply this principle to my studying habits. Earlier, I used to schedule my day to study for at least 6 hours a day, which I actually did. But in between those 6 hours, I used to do a lot of other things too, such as checking my social media, watching YouTube videos, reading other books. So that was how I was able to cover up those 6 hours. I was really proud of myself for studying 6 hours every day. But one day I tried to track how much of time was I actually spending on studying. And I realized that I was only studying for approximately 1.5 hours or 2 hours at max in those 6 hours time window. That is when I realized that I need to apply 80-20 principle to my studying habit. So what I did was I cut out the unnecessary 6 hours a day studying schedule and made it 2 hours a day study. But the rule was, in those 2 hours there will be no access to social media or YouTube videos. I won't even touch my smartphone. I will go to the library or at home, will shut my door away from all the distraction and just focus on one thing, that was studying. And will study for 2 hours straight. And a good thing to tell you about that is my productivity blew up. I was able to study so much in those 2 hours than I ever did previously in those 6 hours study. This actually reminded me of a formula given by Cal Newport in his book Deep Work, which I highly recommend anyone to read who struggles with concentration. So the formula says that high quality work produced equals time spent into intensity of focus. If you maximize your intensity when you study, you can maximize the results that you get in those hours than you do otherwise. Another important factor for studying more in less time is to pay attention during the classes. I know you might have seen students in your class who study less than you, yet they're able to score higher grades than you. The secret of the studying less is that they pay attention in the class. They take notes in the class and make sure they understand every concept in the class itself. So when the actual test approaches, all they need to do is revise their notes, which makes their concepts even more clearer and makes it fairly easy for them to ace the test. So now I'm going to talk about how to double your business revenue using the 80-20 principle. To double your business, you have to identify from where the majority of your money is coming from. For example, a friend of mine runs a business. So he realized that majority of his revenue was coming only from 15% of his customer base, approximately around 15% to 16%, 20%. So that is only 15% of his subscribers were buying his products. So what he decided was to cut out the unnecessary spending on the people who won't buy the products, that is, stop trying to sell them, and he focused on selling to those people who were actually interested in buying the product. That helped him save a ton of money and made his sales more efficient than ever. He was able to manage customer relationships better that way and was able to double his revenue in less time. You can apply this principle to almost anything. The ratios doesn't matter whether it's 80-20, 90-10, 70-30. The gist of this principle is to differentiate your primary focus from your secondary focus. Let me know in the comments below how you apply this principle to your life. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button. Cheers!